The following commentary is for entertainment purposes only. The opinions shared aren't personal, often said in jest, and have no merit in the real lives of the cast members. With that being said, let's binge, let's banter, and most importantly, let's move on. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Queenie, for those who don't know me, reviewing Love Island USA Season 7, and thank God it is the reunion. I am officially washing my hands of this season, okay? Thank God we are finally done. Finally done. Before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe and hit the bell, and leave a comment down below. Make sure your comment is respectful, because people lately have been getting some lip from me, and it seems like y'all be shook a little bit. Yeah, this is a personal channel. Any personal digs will not be tolerated. Thank you very much. So they start off with the final four. We have Hoda and Chris, who are separated by Amaya and Brian, because, you know, things are a little bit awkward still between them. Amaya and Brian say that they are happy together. They claim that long distance is not that hard. And when they talk about the drama that happened at the club where, you know, Brian was pouring shots in girls' mouths, he said he had a momentary lapse of judgment, and he realizes now that he shouldn't have done that. He and Amaya say that they did talk about it. They smoothed things over, and it really wasn't that deep. We also cut to Iris and Pepe, who say that they're headed in a good direction, but as of the filming of the reunion, they were not like officially a couple. They're like officially in a relationship, let me say. They weren't officially in a relationship. We do know, as of this morning, that both couples are no longer following each other on social media. So it seems, I think they said Pepe is gone from Iris's tags or something like that. And then she's no longer following him and vice versa. Amaya's no longer following Brian and vice versa. So it's likely that the things that we're going to hear about these two couples and, you know, where they stand right now is very outdated. Hoda and Chris are asked about the final date, and they really didn't talk about the final date too much. And I wish they did, because of the things that Hoda was saying on Call Her Daddy. But anyways, they did touch on things still being awkward between them.
Fine. I mean...
Weird.
I'm fine.
Very weird on my end.
How does your mom feel about Hoda now?
Happy with how things played out.
We just weren't a good match. It's okay.
I am so glad Chris is finally being a little bit honest about his connection with Hoda, because when he was doing his little press run and he was making everything seem all cutesy, I was like, Chris? Seems like his tone has changed after seeing Hoda on Call Her Daddy, and I'm gonna mention that a lot because that was a big turning point for a lot of people post the villa. So yeah, he's now like, I actually don't respect how you've been moving. I don't see anything between us, whether it's friendship or relationship. I have no animosity towards you, but let's just say my mama agrees with how things panned out. I said, now mama agree. Miss, you know, we've all been there before. Okay, not too much on mama now. Hoda says she reached out to clear the air, but Chris is like, it's very suspicious that you had over a month, but you only chose 2 or 3 days before the reunion to want to clear things up. So yeah, apology not really accepted, but we're choosing to move on. I recently saw on TikTok that Chris is going to be on a podcast, and they didn't show like too many clips of him talking, but the lady who he was talking to was running down on Hoda. And I was like, okay, I know Hoda was not my favorite cast member either, but like, you doing a lot, Miss Mamas. Like, it's coming off a little weird, you know? But there was Chris not rebuttaling from that little clip. It is chopped and screwed, but I was like, I have a feeling that what she was saying is in alignment with what he thinks about her. Anyways, Hoda was asked about her current dating life, and she said she's contractually not allowed, legally. She's legally not allowed to talk about it because Netflix is involved. At the time, you know, I wanted to give her a hard time. I did. But then I remember Hannah from Perfect Match, I think her name is Hannah, she was unable to even announce the fact that she's, or who she is pregnant by and engaged to. So if Louis is currently dating somebody, then I could understand why she could not speak about that, because Netflix was telling all them people to be quiet. Now, I don't get why they were allowed to be on every red carpet available, because that is saying something, even though you're not saying something, and then being on the streams and stuff. I was like, that's kind of weird. But it felt to me like it didn't help the narrative that this is a PR relationship. I fully believe that it is. Baby girl, if you are actually dating this man, not enough time has passed, I feel. I think this girl actually needed some time to breathe. There's a lot being thrown at her all at once. Jumping into a relationship is not the best move right now. Alandra and Nick are asked about their relationship, and at the time of filming, they are still just exclusive. They are not actually in a relationship. Child, this whole cast, like, and it's so funny to hear the cast be like, oh, people just don't understand what Love Island is about. Do y'all understand what Love Island is about? Granted, I'm not saying they need to be like boyfriend and girlfriend and out on the town all the time. I'm not saying that at all. But for a cast who feels like we, the audience, don't understand what the show is about, none of them are in real relationships at the point of filming. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that was a little bit weird. However, I feel the same way about them as I feel about Mimi and Josh. If you watched UK last season, Mimi and Josh were the winners, right? And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this is just PR. Josh is using you. Josh is whatever. The people them were doing the press tour, getting the brand deals, doing all that stuff, and it was mutually beneficial. They actually wanted to pursue a relationship, but the social pressure is what caused them to break up. They both did confirm that. So I actually do believe in Alandra and Nick. I do think that they have potential, but that pressure is definitely going to make things harder for them to navigate, just because you kind of lose your sense of self because you're just trying to keep, you're trying to appease the audience, and it's impossible to make everybody else happy. You got to do things for yourself. All I'm saying is I'm happy that whether or not they're using each other for PR, they are both getting to the bag. It's not just him, it's also her. And I love that for her. They are then asked about Sierra, and it's clear that they are both not interested in exploring some kind of friendship, acquaintanceship with that lady.
Have either of you seen or talked to Sierra since leaving the villa?
I don't plan on it. She started making these videos. She was low-key like prioritizing some attention.
Clear that things worked out exactly as they were meant to.
Have you guys seen that meet and greet footage where Sierra like came out of the car and she spun around and it was like two people. It was two people there to see her. Miss Girl is crashing out. And I do feel for her in the sense that, you know, she's clearly not coping too well with life post the villa as far as Love Island is concerned. But if you guys did see my update video talking about her self-conducted interview, I don't feel as bad for her, because it does seem like she and Nick did have an agreement. Like, you know what I'm saying? So based on that agreement, I felt less bad. I do still think that it kind of is a gut punch to see how quickly it seems. It was quick. I'm not even gonna say seems. It was quick. But things in Love Island are quick though. So can I really be too mad? I don't know. Whatever. From going from exclusive to switching up and being, you know, so enamored with somebody else, whether or not it was Alandra, it has got to hurt. So I do feel for Sierra in that way, but the way she's been moving post the villa, I completely understand why neither of these two individuals want anything to do with that. Clark, Taylor, Ace, and Shelly are joining the stage, and they're asked how they feel about the exclusive curse in the villa.
I mean, it's called Love Island, you know? I think they missed the plot of what Love Island was supposed to be about.
Season, it was more based on favorites.
It's a system you designed.
Nah, Shelly, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to push back on that one, okay? This by far has felt like the most game-focused season of US that I have watched. Now, it could be because it is now on Peacock, right? Before it used to be on CBS, so we actually didn't get to see as much as what was going on in this season and even the season before. So that could be a contributing factor. I will give it that for sure. The legacy watchers of Love Island were very frustrated. I'm one of them. If you've been watching UK for a while, and then if you've been watching US from season 1, this season just felt so different. It was how they were conducting themselves on the show, and it was also how the audience was acting, being irritating as hell. So yeah, it is kind of frustrating to hear her say that, you know, the public didn't really understand what Love Island was about, when it seems like they changed the scope of what Love Island was about this season, and our votes kind of matched what the legacy of Love Island is about. And I do get it. Like, at the end of the day, the popular vote does win. That's literally the whole point. It is a popularity contest. But at the forefront, people would root for relationships. And I think this season, it wasn't much relationshiping happening. So yeah, it just, everything was messed up. Taylor claims that he was torn between Clark and Alandra. I'm just noticing that we really did not hear from Clark much at all. But anyways, Alandra says that she has seen footage that would prove otherwise.
I'm thinking in the villa, like, oh, he respects my wishes of me being a slow burner. It didn't happen because it wasn't there. The whole not being physically attracted to me, learn to grow to like me, that gives desperation. I was never desperate.
I was desperate for Alandra to finally see some footage from the show and see how Taylor was acting in her absence, or how he was doing things even in her face, but it kind of felt to me, like he was still playing in her face. So now that she has seen that, you know, it really wasn't there for Taylor for the most part, she finally can put that to rest. Not to say that she still had feelings for him, but that uncertainty of like, yo, what the hell was my journey even about? She now has a resolve and she can, you know, fully move on. I don't believe Taylor when he says he was really torn. Like, please, when Miss Clark came in, well, Coco was there, but he didn't want to pursue Coco because Coco was basically Alandra in a different body. His words, not mine. Alandra in a different body were his words, not mine. But yeah, as soon as he locked in with Clark, like, I did not foresee him turning his head back to Alandra at all. But that's his claim, so fine. I still believe that Alandra had seen enough to maybe not be as invested in Taylor as she was. However, you do understand that in that environment, sometimes your perception is completely off. On her Keke Palmer interview, which I did review, so I'm not going to get too much into that, she did say that Taylor was just so doting. But to me, what stuck out was that he was doting to a lot of people. It wasn't like it was just her. So for me, if he's being friendly like that to everybody, I'm not going to think I'm special because he's also friendly to me. That is my opinion. Don't nobody go and run with that me like, oh, you're being so mean to... Shut up. I don't want to hear it. Y'all came to my channel for my opinion. That's my opinion. I feel like they didn't really go into the Nick and Alandra of it all enough. Not enough for me, at least. Basically, they do shut down the rumors that their connection is not real. Like, they say we are as genuine is. She says, I think she said in a different segment that she's not going to hang around with phony people. And I'm sure that applies to Nick. So she believes that Nick is being genuine with her. I do believe that he's genuinely into her. I do think that a lot of these couples do have an incentive to stay together longer. It's just a fact. And they could still have love for or be in love with each other, even while understanding that there is an incentive to look as if you are a solid couple. I think those two things can be true at the same time. Yeah, I'm so glad. Mr. I pick Clark. I'm so glad he moved the way that he did, because the way that Alandra and Nick have just been winning, I love that for them. They ask Ace and Shelly how deep their connection was before coming into the villa, and they say it was strictly social media. It was little comments here and there under pictures, but it really wasn't this whole orchestrated plan as some people thought it was. Me personally, I still don't like the fact that there are well-known people, whether it's influencers or people who are well-connected in the influencer space, coming on the show. It just changes the tone for me. So it's not my vibe, but they do confirm that they did not have a relationship prior to coming onto the show. They still are not in an official relationship coming out of the show. They are exclusive. They're still exploring things, but they do love each other. Do with that info what you will. Ace does say he does have something planned, and I fully believe him. This man has really been showing out for Shelly, showing out. So I'm sure he's going to do his big one when he asks her to officially be his girlfriend. All the Casa people come out, including TJ, Austin, and Andreina. We have Coco, who was asked what she meant when she was saying on podcasts that some people were standoffish. She does say that it was Alandra. Alandra didn't really want to vibe with the Casa girls. I mean, it does make sense. And Alandra does accept. She's like, yeah, I mean, I was missing my girls. I just got dumped. My connection is with somebody else. Like, there was a lot happening. I wasn't really keen on being friends at the beginning. However, my problems with you stem from outside the villa.
When the hell did I say my man around any of you guys?
Calling him your man, like you had took a picture, you kissed it. That was not me trying to come for you. That was not me being shady. I'm 200 for that.
Appreciate it if you would have spoke on my character that you got to see in person. Speak to your true experience.
Coco was coming in with a lot of energy, and I was like, well, that's interesting because the night before, you the same one who was trying to say hi to Alandra, and, you know, Alandra said, I'm cool, and, you know, this feels like a lot of energy. And it's weird because at face value, she is trying to apologize, like she's being apologetic, but the energy and the words don't really match. So it feels as if she's being combative, but like at face value, her words are actually being apologetic. So sucks for Coco. I think it's hard for her to marry her thoughts and her tone. It just isn't matching. And I was like, damn, it's going to be a long day for Coco because people were already cooking her not too long ago because the lady who she was on the podcast with, who was being shady too, she came for Coco again not too long ago. So they've been having a back and forth. I was like, oh my gosh, the audience is just going to cook this girl. I felt so bad. But anyways, Shelly chimes in and she's like, well, Coco, it's not just the things that you said on that podcast. It's the behavior after the fact. It's reposting certain things. You know, it's being shady in other spaces as well. And she also throws that towards Vanna too. And Vanna's like, oh, I just didn't mean, I did. Guys, I don't know what these people thought. Like, Ace literally said, I am holding my words until the reunion. Like, y'all should have been on your P's and Q's and had your responses ready because Ace was ready. Some of the things that Ace said I don't agree with, but Ace was ready. Either way, Alandra says that she did in fact see the message that Coco sent, being apologetic on the DMs, but she believes that public disrespect deserves a public resolve. I agree. I fully agree. I've been in plenty of situations where I'm publicly disrespected and then somebody comes and tries to message me on the side or tries to have a phone call. Absolutely not. The same way you offended me is the same way you gotta apologize to me. Let's make that clear. Someone who's not rocking with the apologies is Brian. He doesn't like that Zach was insinuating the fact that he was in it for money. Zach denies that he ever said this. I'm sure somebody will run the clip on TikTok real soon to debunk that lie or to prove it. I don't know, debunk, whatever. I'm sure the clip will be surfacing real soon. Amaya did accept Zach's apology for how he acted on Stand on Business. I feel like they'd already had the apology on the show too. But she does say that Zach does play up to the cameras. And honestly, when I think back on Zach's time on BBUK, absolutely he does. That mewing he always does when he notices that he's being perceived, he does play up to the cameras, definitely. And she does agree that his tone did change after everybody found out that she's basically really popular on the outside. He was starting to move different. He doesn't think so, but most of us do. We then see Austin and Jaden, who are very awkward. Oh my gosh. Basically, the reason why their relationship dissolved was because of disrespect and a lack of transparency. Austin feels like he was transparent in the fact that he was still exploring his options. Jaden disagrees. Andreina backs up Jaden, but whatever, child. Then we have Grayson, who was annoyed with Hoda after she realized that Hoda was the one who wrote the letter about her in this Down on Business challenge. She felt really honestly, she felt gaslit by the whole villa because she knew that something was off with Pepe, but everybody's telling her, no, girl, it's great. So she was questioning her reality the whole time. And she didn't like the fact that people took this Down on Business challenge as the opportunity to call it out rather than saying it to her face. So Hoda tried to clear up the statement regarding her bringing Chris back for herself and for Shelly. I personally feel like this has already kind of been cleared up. But either way, they do play a longer clip. And honestly, in a way, they're both right.
You wanted more time with him, right? You can have more time, and so can I.
I still feel like it's not the whole thing.
I feel like it's exactly what I said I'd said.
Do you remember the conversation in the dressing room? Even if you told me no, I still would have did it for you anyways because I know what my girl wants.
I can't remember, but if I said that, that may have been me just reassuring you to make you more comfortable with my decision.
The main thing that I remember Shelly saying when they had that conversation on the dock was that Hoda throwing in her interest towards Chris was a last minute thing. So it did shake Shelly because that was not the impression that Hoda was giving her throughout their time in Casa Amor. I feel like that part is understood. I also get what Hoda is saying and that, no, I did say that he was for you and me. Shelly agrees with that, but there was a lot of, oh girl, this is for you, girl. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Like, we're doing this for you. Like, that was the vibe for most of Casa Amor. Her time was being taken up with JD until JD was like, oh, you being dominant. Like, her time was taken up elsewhere. So the Chris thing did come, you know, at like a buzzer beater, you know what I'm saying? So I get what both women are saying. Like I said in my reviews, I think that Hoda should have just stopped saying that because obviously it wasn't resonating with Shelly in the way that she was trying to say it. Then Hoda is like, well, I think that Shelly, you should focus on how happy you are now. You know, you're in a beautiful relationship. I said, don't do that. Do not do that. A lot of people love, oh my gosh, they're doing it right now with AD and Ollie. People are like, oh, we shouldn't criticize their time on The Perfect Match because, you know, they're engaged now and they're having a baby. Doesn't matter. What happened is still what happened. And we're still allowed to talk about it if we want to talk about it. If Shelly still wants to address what happened there, especially because she was asked to address it, she's allowed to do so. It shouldn't then be Hoda saying, oh, no, I think you should just focus on where you're at now. No, ma'am. Hannah and Charlie come out and that whole love pentagon with TJ, Iris, and Pepe, they're asked if there's unfinished business. Basically, everybody says no. However, Charlie was very salty. Charlie was still a lot of bit upset by how things panned out. And I was like, somebody get this man a stiff drink, man. He had a lot of feelings. But anyways, moving on. They play the full clip of Hannah's dumping. Honestly, that same rationale was there, that Hannah had honed in on somebody too quickly. And so they wanted to focus on keeping the people in who were still exploring options. But again, we misunderstood the reason for Love Island. Anyways, Hannah's departure really didn't bother me. It was just the rationale. The same thing with Jeremiah. Jeremiah's departure, I was like, meh. But the reasons for it, I was like, make that make sense. Either way, Hannah says, you know, it's very sad to see that, you know, it wasn't sad to see anything. She was just sad. Okay, the girl started crying. I really don't remember why she started crying, but she did say she understands and she has so much love for all the girls. She has no ill will towards any of them, and people need to stop asking her if she's mad at them because she's not. Belle Dasha comes out. She says she's besties with Hoda, even though this is the first time that they're seeing each other since the show. Whatever, child. Moving on. Jeremiah comes out. This is where things got a little spicy for me.
Do you think you overreacted at all?
He made the effort to make a pancake. God bless him.
It wasn't about the undercooked pancake, but it was like the way she went about things. Like, that's where I was like, okay, let me start paying real attention to how our communication is.
The thing is, like, you learn from mistakes and you work towards being a better person.
They tried to keep things light, bringing in the whole pancake thing, and then like Hoda's cackling and whatnot. And like, I do understand that, you know, I guess the pancakes as an isolated thing is like, oh, ha, 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 funny. But like Jeremiah said, it was one of many examples of their relationship being super toxic. And he does accept responsibility on his side too. He's like, I'm not gonna act like I was innocent, but you were definitely twisting the reality for a lot of people that made me seem like the villain. And that wasn't right. Our relationship was so toxic on both sides. I would say things and you would twist my words. And now I'm the bad guy because you look like, you know, the girl who's being strung along, which is not the case. He asks her if she thinks that she was being love bombed, and she said, well, yeah, some things I do. Oh, gosh. Then he literally goes on to explain, well, a little bit, explain love bombing. And she's like, well, do you still think, well, you know, sometimes when I was like, yeah, this girl definitely had an agenda coming in being apologetic for the most part. Oh, she was apologizing for a lot of stuff. And she's trying to do the whole, oh, let's just let bygones be bygones and let's just move on from this. When Jeremiah is right, like, you're the one who's dropping I love yous here and there. Like, come on. Let's not make it seem like I was being this big, bad, malicious guy. Like, you were doing your stuff too. Anyways, They shift over to Ace because obviously Ace doesn't believe that Jeremiah was there with good intentions. And basically Jeremiah would say things as a joke, but it seems like it wasn't taken as a joke to Ace. So he did say things about like this being a game and followers and stuff. And he's now saying, yes, I do acknowledge that it was a joke, but people have gotten sent home for jokes. So I'm glad that we could finally put that to rest, because even Taylor was like, well, yeah, I actually do think that Jeremiah was here for good intentions. Austin says there were certain things that definitely were done in a joking manner, like even who should be done from the villa. He said it as a joke. Ace was like, but you could see how a joke could get somebody in trouble. Okay. All right. I think at the end of the day, Jeremiah and Ace just didn't vibe in the way that Ace was vibing with the other guys. So it was damned if he did and damned if he didn't, as far as Jeremiah is concerned. Realistically, he shouldn't have been joking with people who didn't fully understand his banter, because that definitely got him into some trouble. Somebody who actually did understand what Jeremiah was going through was Nick. And so when they play the full clip of Jeremiah's dumping, Nick was defending Jeremiah.
He's not doing the Love Island the correct way.
You guys might think that the same cycle is happening, but you could be risking, his relationship with Adrena. You have Austin, who doesn't have somebody right now. I would like to think that he is someone who grows from this.
That definitely makes me feel better about, me and Nick being cool, for sure.
The main takeaway of this cast is the people who had solid relationships were getting side eyes, and the people who were exploring were getting praised. I hate that as a legacy watcher, but whatever, it is what it is. It was good to see that Nick didn't vote for Jeremiah to go home. He also was the one who voted for Hoda to go home at every chance that he got. And I know some people are like, oh, why do you keep coming at Nick because of the vote? I never once said that Nick made this specific decision. I said, y'all voted A, B, C, and D. It don't matter if it was one person or 7 people. The villa made a decision. End of story. But anyways, Nick was vindicated. He never was against Jeremiah, at least as far as the votes were concerned. Ace said that he was annoyed by being called the ringleader. But listen, whether or not you like the term, the fact of the matter is Ace had a lot of influence in the villa. A lot of people at the beginning loved it, myself included. I was eating it up. I said, yeah, stir the pot, really push some narratives. But at some point it got old. It got old so fast. And I got tired of the gameplay and I wanted to see genuine connections form, and that was inhibited. Realistically, it's more of a compliment than anything, the fact that Ace just has such an impression on the villa. People did sway when he would talk to them. We did see that, but he's right. Everybody's a grown person. They're able to make their own decisions. If they didn't make a decision, that's on them. That's not on him. Either way, it is exposed that Hannah and Jeremiah did get the lowest votes. So regardless, they would have been going home. And Ace does say that he regrets voting for Jeremiah to leave during that vote. Ace then calls out Amaya for doing a TikTok with Alice Cooper where it was like making fun of his height, I think. And she says that they had a conversation about it and she did try to get her team to take that down. If you know, you know. I can't say too much on that, so I'm just gonna swiftly move on. Ace's big issue with a lot of people, especially like Amaya and Hoda more specifically, is that they would act one way with him and then move differently when they're in different spaces, which is absolutely true. I fully agree with him on that. Hoda is one of the people who was acting different, as we know, and she says that she's a changed woman. And she would not handle herself in the way that she was handling herself beforehand. She wouldn't name call anymore and she wouldn't lash out the way that she did. And I'm like, in a month? You've changed all of that in a month? Okay. She brings up the whole bullying thing. And I'm glad that Andy was like, I'm going to be so serious with you. I didn't see the bullying. Please make it make sense. Because I was there with Andy like, girl, where was the bullying?
Maybe bullying could have been a different word, but it was when I think Shelly was there. I was just being funny and joking around, and then.
Why is she looking over here?
That was mean. It was hurtful.
I am so glad Hoda admitted that it was watching them clips that made her say this whole bullying thing. It was them clips that made her say that, because we saw her being laid up with Alandra. And then all of a sudden, people are bullies. And she does clarify that she wasn't talking about Alandra. However, like Alandra said, it is very dangerous to not put a name on things because her stans, not her fans, if you're a fan of her, it's whatever, her stans are deranged. They are deranged, and they were finding any reason to attack anybody who was seemingly against Hoda. So not putting a name on something sent a lot of vitriol towards people who you could argue deserved it and people who most definitely did not deserve it. She says what she perceived as the bullying was when the people were on the couch talking about her when she was in the gym with, I think it was Chris. And here's the thing. It definitely can feel like, oh my gosh, people are talking about me behind my back. But literally, that's what everybody in the villa, everybody in this damn villa talks about each other behind each other's back. It is unfortunate that Hoda was then making faces at them while they were talking about her. But this is also off the heels of her antics that they were very vocally tired of. So of course they're going to talk about how irritating some of the things are and whatever. And yeah, the way that it's edited, it does look like they were being mean towards her. But let it be known, it was bare people in that conversation, men included. But who got most of the vitriol? I'm not sure about Sierra. Haven't heard her talk too much about that, but definitely Shelly did. So that is completely unfair. I personally don't see this as bullying. I don't. But for people who do, include everybody on that couch. If we're going to do that, include everybody on that damn couch. Ariana turns to Alandra and she's like, honestly, it was kind of sad to see how things had panned out between you guys because you were so close with each other, and to see that you and Hoda are not at that place anymore is kind of heartbreaking. Alandra does start to get emotional because she's like, yeah, like Hoda was my girl. And to see that I'm not even one of the people she was referring to makes it hurt even more because you let people come for me. Alandra says that she asked Hoda to make a post, you know, denouncing the bullying and stuff, and Hoda didn't do it. Hoda says, oh, you know, I said something in the press, but it aired the same day that you unfollowed me and stuff. But the real place that she should have said it was on Call Her Daddy. You have a big platform. You know that is going to also be a big audience because Alex Cooper has a big following. That would have been the place to say it. If you couldn't find your words to make a post, that would have been the place to say it. And on top of all of that, Shelly and Alandra said that they had a conversation with Hoda in the Airbnb to kind of hash everything out. And Hoda did not mention any bullying there. Hoda did not clarify anything. Hoda, you know what I'm saying? It was only when Hoda was on certain platforms that now she wanted to speak, and the girls felt slighted by it. Ultimately, Shelly did apologize for anything that she had done toward, well, these people say if. I apologize if. These are all, you know, flimsy apologies if you ask me. But she apologizes for any hurt she may have caused towards Hoda. Hoda accepts. Hoda then apologizes for not, you know, defending the women. But they decide, you know what, we're going to support you from a distance. But as far as a friendship, we ain't got that. Shelly's asked about the heart rate challenge, and she says, honestly, if the footage is here, I don't want to talk. Let's just roll the tapes, and roll the tapes. They did.
Dirty, dirty boy.
So ham.
Yeah.
I took it a step too far. I do apologize if I made anybody feel uncomfortable.
Just think that there should have been more talk about boundaries.
It is so awkward watching this footage. Now seeing that everybody's, you know, coupled up, it was so awkward. It was so awkward. However, this does prove everybody right who went on those podcasts or was on live or was in comments saying that Miss Girl was twerking near homeboy's face. And that was, you know, a lot. Even Chris was like, yeah, you know, she was licking genitals and whatnot, and it was a lot. Hoda again says it was too much. She said it on the show. She said it on Call Her Daddy. Well, no, Call Her Daddy, she didn't really stand on business. But she has said on a few platforms that she understands she may have done too much. And she was trying to apologize again for it. But like I said, you have one tone in some spaces and a different tone in other spaces. And so you can kind of understand why people don't really take to you, people in that friend group, let me say, don't really take to you well anymore. Yeah. Shelly is still doubling down on the fact that it was about girlhood first and foremost. It was about the sisterhood first and foremost. Whether or not people talked about, you know, this challenge being consensual, if it were Jeremiah in that position as like ace, and it was Shelly doing things towards Jeremiah, and they were still close, Hoda and Jeremiah, it would have been a big problem. And Shelly even asked her that, and she was like, no, but when Chris was there, I was clapping for everybody. Nobody's asking about Chris. Nobody's asking about Chris because we know that connection was off from the beginning. Okay, we're asking about Jeremiah, and that is Shelly's point. You know that there's a close connection. As my sister, as my girl, you should have done me the courtesy that we were all doing for you. I feel like that's clear to understand, but apparently that's still something that's going over a lot of people's heads. Whatever. I'm glad that Iris said at the end of the day, the biggest issue is the fact that boundaries were not discussed. A lot of people got their feelings hurt because in their own couples, they didn't explain boundaries. Even Ace himself in that challenge was real giddy, real grabby too. So, you know, I think the energy could be given to both people if we're being completely honest. Lastly, what came from that? Shelly said she also didn't like that Hoda would act as if things are just challenges when in fact there was hidden intent. And to people who don't believe that Hoda did have hidden intentions with that, she said it on Call Her Daddy. She said there's a reason why she kissed Ace. Obviously there was an attraction there. So again, you can understand why Shelly's irritated. But anyways, these girls are not going to be friends, and it's probably for the best. They end with a montage of friendship. Child, ain't nobody care about that, okay? Most of these people have tension. I don't know why we're trying to make it seem like, oh, you know, look at all these friendships between each other. It's fine. Not everybody gets along, and that's okay. We get the announcement that Love Island Games is coming back September 16th. I can assure you, unless there's something as big as the scandal between Janae and Kenny, y'all not gonna see me till then, okay? I am Love Island out. I'm done. I am reviewing Beyond the Villa on the reality recap, so if you are interested in that, you can go over there. But for the most part, I wash my hands with season 7, child. Woo! Thank God. Y'all let me know your thoughts on the reunion down below. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.